Well, you guys, welcome back to another video. The call from yesterday was splendid. Ended up going for that tree drives pattern and ultimately started dumping. This is once more a prime example of, even though we have reasons to believe that, the market is going up, at the end of the day, we need to trade the system. And the system yesterday was pointing towards downside. And so that's why we ended up taking the trade. And that is a beautiful win. So I think that, if I'm not mistaken, that is win number 123 out of the last 154 trades called on this YouTube channel. Anyways, today I'm going to break down what's going on with Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about ETH, going to talk about Solana, and ultimately just give you the setup for today. So yeah, without any further ado, and also congrats to everyone that was following me on Twitter yesterday, because I ended up calling the live trade. So, to everyone that was following along, I saw quite a few, mentions of profits, spot on call. So yeah, more to come. Again, this is just another reminder to follow me on my Twitter, because ultimately this is where I'm going to be sharing any live trades if I do take any. But without any further ado, let's dive into the charts for today. We're going to start things off by removing everything on the chart just to not clog it up. Taking a look at the daily chart, obviously we are bearish, but we're currently inside a bullish order block at the moment, which again, we have reason to believe that price can pump from here, but we're still going to trade the system. And the system at the moment says that, if you have a bearish daily candle close, you're going to look for shorts, at least for the moment. Going down into the 1 hourly chart. Now, this could change pretty quickly though. In the event that we get a candle close above this level at 111,800, you could potentially start, shifting to a long. Potentially right now, you'll even already have some sort of an inverse heads and shoulders pattern. So if this happens, we may very well just flip our bias to the long side, just because of the confluence that we may be having on the daily chart at the moment. But for now, in terms of the 1 hourly chart, we're going to mark this bearish order block right here. Well, I'm just going to keep that bearish, that bullish order block from the daily chart impact, but just not to be confused. That is from the daily chart. You have obviously a bearish order block over here, and you have a bearish favorite gap over here. And no, guys, this is not a favorite gap. This is a favorite gap. Favorite gap. Spoken very fast. It's called a favorite gap. Anyways, that's a favorite gap. So ultimately, if price comes into any of these three levels, we are actually, just based on the high hybrid bias and based on the daily bias, we're actually looking for more downside rather than upside. We'll see if the lower time frame gives us a different picture though. So lower time frame, we can see that the Asia low has already been swept, but most of the London trading has been above the Asia high, which means at the moment the Asia high has already been swept. But I can see that there are relatively equal lows over here, which means that, well, just like how we managed to predict yesterday that relatively equal lows were a magnet for liquidity for price to actually sweep it out. This is going to be a similar story. So in the event, there's going to be two, shortened scenarios today, basically. The first one's going to be, well, price sweeps out these relatively equal highs before forming a bearish shaky state of delivery to the downside, but one. Or two, price just continues dumping straight on from this point onwards. And yeah, we just trade it alongside the momentum, just like we did yesterday. So in the event that you get a breakdown here and you retrace, that's going to be scenario one. Scenario two is that, well, you're still going to get the breakdown, but you may sweep out these highs first before that. So in the second scenario, you're going to be entering much later. And in the first scenario, well, obviously, you're going to be entering pretty quick. That is the breakdown on Bitcoin. And again, there is a potential bullish scenario here in the fact that, you could break above here and you could, start going up. But ultimately, that's not going to be the setup that I will be taking because, well, yesterday has already been a very good example of how we had reasons to believe that it was bullish, but ultimately at the end of the day, we follow the system because the system is a very profitable one. Ultimately, this is something that wins at an 80% win rate. And when you have a system like that, you trust it. And one of the core tenets within the system is that we need time frame alignment. That is getting close to evening time. This mosquito situation is not the best. We'll try to get this over with as soon as possible. So anyways, like I was saying, one of the core tenets within the system is that you want time frame alignment before you pick any trades, which means that if you are planning to go long, you want your 1 hourly time frame to be pointing up, but also at the same time, your daily time frame, which just means that at the moment, the daily bias is down and it's not going to change until tomorrow. And so it's never too late today to let the price break through that order block right there, even break through this bearish order block, right? If we end up here by the time tomorrow rolls around, we're going to be in such a better, more favorable position to go long rather than, try to jump into early into, catching the bottom. Because ultimately, at the moment, this is bearish order flow from the 1 hourly chart all the way up to the daily chart. So tomorrow, if we get into this, at the very least, we're going to have way better confirmations. And that equates to, yeah, sure, we may miss the bottom, but at least we're getting in on a confirmed move, which means we're much less likely to lose the trade and, well, we're much less likely to make money. This is the same kind of like train of thought that we've used this week. If you guys recall, on Monday and Tuesday, I told you guys, like, yeah, if you can, try to avoid trading on Monday and Tuesday because there was no news. Ideally, you even want to be trading on Wednesday because that's when you have federal funds rate, that's when you have FOMC. Look at what happened yesterday, right? In a single, like in a couple of hours, or like in a few hours, in the span of a few hours, you have made more of a movement compared to the last couple of days combined. And so just another reminder that how much money you make trading is not up to the amount of trades that you take or the amount of screen time that you put, staring at the charts. It's much more about your decision quality and ultimately just taking trades that are confirmed, that align with the system, everything aligns, and it's A+. It's a very tough concept to wrap your mind around because ultimately in society we are kind of conditioned the idea that, yeah, if I usually work 8 hours, but this week I work 10 hours a day, then I should be paid more. That's just how society works. But that's not the same way. It's not the same kind of logic that applies to trading. Trading, you could realistically be trading just 5 minutes a week. But if you manage to catch an A+ setup in that 5 minutes, you're going to make way more money than someone who spent like 5 days straight staring at the charts, taking 50 trades. It's just the reality of it. So yeah, if it starts going long, I'm probably not going to take it, but I will still give you guys an update on Twitter. So yeah, follow me there if you want to get that update. But otherwise, speaking about updates, in a month from now, I'm going to be holding a masterclass teaching you exactly, just breaking down the system step by step. It's going to be completely for free, by the way. Just that the swaps are probably going to be capped because it will be a free masterclass. If you would like to sign up to that or like be one of the first ones to sign up to that, click the first link in the description box below, like join the newsletter because people on the newsletter are going to be the first to be notified of this free masterclass that is going to be launching. Well, or at least the signups are going to be launching very soon. But otherwise, just one last note, if price continues to just break down from here, like just look for retracements and continue trading it down. Nothing too complicated in regards to that. You don't necessarily have to wait for the sweep because the sweep is just a part of like one potential scenario that could happen. It may or may not happen. So just trade what price is telling you at the moment price is falling. And so it's a very safe thing to do just to continue trading lower. So this was also the other trade that was called yesterday on Twitter on Ethereum. And yeah, very successful. In fact, the TP was hit before like a retracement even happened. But yeah, you had a solid 10 minutes to get in on this trade if you're following it live. Just the reality of intraday trading. Anyways, going up to the daily bias, we are having a bearish daily bias on the 1 hourly chart. Very similar setup to Bitcoin. In this case, you really want to see this zone here getting broken through before you start taking longs, because in the event that you, let's say, all right, you come up to here, as long as you do not break that, it's just going to be a retracement level for price to ultimately head towards, well, to head further down. So just in the event that price comes into this level, you're going to sweep out these relatively equal highs. That's going to be an ideal setup. Now, by the time you watch this video, if price happens to already have broken down, for example, this new order block right here, you can feel free to just trade this again. Momentum trade this lower, pretty straightforward. Everything is just pointing towards the short side today. But again, it's not our job here as traders to try to catch bottoms. One of my favorite sayings, in fact, in order trading is that top pickers and bottom pickers usually end up becoming bottom pickers. It's just not a very profitable thing to do, to try to predict where the bottom is going to be. You would much rather get in on a confirmed move rather than, speculate. And so far, the Asia high has not yet been swept. So potentially, if you get this, that's going to be an ideal setup. But otherwise, you already got a change of state of delivery, which means right here is already a solid entry, placing a stop above tier and targeting for 2 off. This is already valid. Now, man, I am getting assaulted. I am getting absolutely assaulted here. Crazy. Look, I'm just going to wrap this up with Solana. Taking a look at the 5 minute, taking a look at the daily chart. That is a bearish daily bias, in fact, but not as bearish compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin. Like Solana yesterday actually did a pretty good pump prior to the dump, which is unlike Bitcoin and Solana. So unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum, which did not pump much and then just straight up dump. Even dump wasn't that big compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Solana relatively has much more strength. So in the event that you are looking for a long Bitcoin, hence, well, Solana is just going to be a little bit better compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. But otherwise, the setup for today is still going to be short. Although the short setup today is going to be very ambiguous because you only recently just got HCISD on the 1 hourly chart, which means that, yes, price is already starting to head lower, but, you're just kind of following a range here. So it's a little bit tough to say. What I'd say as the short setup is going to be a break, like an hourly close below this level right here at 191.7. You bet that you get that. Retrace, boom, go down, and that is going to be the setup on Solana. And guys, I'm about to head inside right now because I'm getting absolutely hammered, assaulted by these mosquitoes, which is crazy.